High school students can now earn money for getting good grades or visiting a college campus. They're called micro-scholarships. The national organization Raise Me launched the idea 5 years ago. Lindsay Wright is here with more.
Hey, Joe. More than a dozen Indiana universities and colleges have partnered with Raise Me to offer prospective students micro-scholarships. They can earn money in high school and then apply it towards their college expenses. With the increasing cost of higher education, Raise Me officials tout micro-scholarships as a way to help students pay for school. Christopher Pack is an artist, and it shows when you step into his room.
I started practicing and really started honing my skills with drawing, and that's how I was able to get this good.
His walls are lined with drawings. One of his favorite things to bring to life on paper, superheroes.
This is Deadpool. Everyone should know him by now. They made movies about him.
So it's fitting that he plans to study visual and sports communications in college. Pack recently graduated as valedictorian from a small charter school in Indianapolis. But he says college wouldn't have been possible without micro-scholarships.
With Raise Me, I was able to see all the achievements I went through, and I was said, you know what? Let me just put them in and see what I get. And I got $7,370 just from putting all my achievements in.
Pack says it's easy. He created a profile on Raise Me and started following institutions that offer micro-scholarships.
You just type in your email address and your password and everything like that, and yeah, you signed up.
From there, he added in his achievements from freshman to senior year and got an estimate from each school of how much money they would offer him. Students can receive money for good grades, volunteering, and participating in sports. More than 1 million high schoolers are using the free platform across the country, including about 25,000 in Indiana.
It really is changing the dynamic, and it's having students start to think about it earlier and also exposing them to schools they might not have ever thought of before.
Pack committed to IUPUI. The school just partnered with Raise Me last year, but officials are already calling it a success.
So you're basically encouraging the student to do things that they need to do to really become college prepared anyway, but you're giving them sort of an allowance in these micro-scholarships along the way, and it makes them feel actively engaged.
Indiana State University has been offering micro-scholarships for a couple years. Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management Richard Toomey says higher education institutions used to focus their recruitment efforts on juniors and seniors. But he says micro-scholarships allow them to do meaningful outreach earlier.
If a student comes and takes a college tour and actually registered through our admissions office and experiences campus for a day with us, we will actually award them a one-time $500 scholarship to actually enroll at Indiana State.
Although funds received through micro-scholarships won't necessarily pay for a student's entire tuition, Lumina Foundation Strategy Director Haley Glover says it can be a good recruitment strategy. But she says universities can't stop there.
Being able to support students once they get to college is equally, if not more important than getting students to the door of the college.
Hodge says since the platform is so new, there's not much data. But he says some schools are seeing higher GPAs and students staying in school at a higher rate on average. And maybe most importantly, it encourages high schoolers to start thinking about their finances earlier.
The value of education has never really been focused on more than it is now. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about student debt, and so really finding the types of aid that can help students pay for college and college affordability is really important.
For Pack, he's always thought about the money. He knew his parents weren't in a position to pay for school. After receiving micro-scholarships through Raise Me, he applied for more scholarships. And now his tuition costs are completely covered.
I just found what's out there, and Raise Me just kind of was that push to say, hey, there's more out there. You just got to look for them and just apply.
Very interesting. Which students now benefit the most from these micro-scholarships?
Well, it depends on the institution because each school can make the program what they want. So they could focus on low-income students, for example, or even rural populations. That's another example. The folks at Raise Me say obviously they want this to benefit all types of students. But one high school advisor I spoke with says she applauds the program, but it doesn't necessarily work for all students. The students in her district, more than 75% are receiving free or reduced lunch. She says with those students, they typically focus on more high-dollar funding.
So with our low-income scholars, obviously the first stop is with our FAFSA. And so the FAFSA is going to help them to identify whether they are receiving Pell Aid and all those different types of financial awards. Those are always going to trump any type of micro scholarships.
But students are still able to receive other scholarships and financial aid on top of the micro scholarships too.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. That's just like Christopher Pack's situation. So he received that $7,000 in micro scholarships, but then went on to find other money through other means. So that $7,000 was the minimum amount he was allotted from IUPUI. So Hodge with Raisby says, yeah, there's other ways to pay for school, and this might not pay for the entire tuition, but he says this definitely can fill gaps for certain students.
Lindsay, thank you very much for that report.
You're welcome.